Welcome back. This is Lee Elberson again, CEO of Clayborne Education, and I have here not only a podcast superstar, one of the stars of Why Would I podcast, but also the GRE GMAT director at Clayborne Education, Mr. James Supplee.
How's it going, Lee? Good to be with you.
Yeah, so we just did a quick chat about some of the changes to the GRE and this new take-it-home structure, and I'll be honest, I'm a little bit concerned about the reliability of these scores. I tend to be the type of person who always thinks about how you could circumvent a system and how you could sort of manipulate it. And it just seems like there could be quite a bit of security holes. So do you know anything more about how they're enforcing this type of security and preventing people from cheating or, maybe even accidentally cheating, leaving a formula sheet on the desk or something?
Yeah. So this company that ETS is partnering with, ProctorU, they've been in the testing industry for a little while now, and they've developed a system that theoretically eliminates a lot of the potential for cheating. So their general process, as I understand it, is that first, they have you work off of a specific browser that can only access the ETS material. Then they also have a tracking software that you have to download on your device in order to access the test. And this allows the proctor at ProctorU, who will be watching you through the webcam to see every move that you make on your computer. So whether you copy and paste something into another document or you try to open up another tab or another window, they'll get to see all of the things that you're doing on your computer. And so that eliminates a lot of the concern of, oh, well, what if I just have another window open on my computer, or if I have like maybe another kind of calculator open or something like that. So that can eliminate a lot of the potential cheating on your device. But who's to say that you don't have something else out on your desk or something on the floor that you're looking at? And to that end, the proctor, before you start taking the test, the proctor will request that you show the proctor the entire room. ETS says on the list of eligibility requirements that you need to have a webcam that can give that with maybe some manual movement can give a 360-degree view of the room, so that the proctor can look for anything that might be suspicious. So maybe any other hardware connections that you have, or they can see any other materials that you might have out on your desk.
Yeah, it seems like well, there's security issues on both ends, right? Because now somebody's going to be looking around your entire office. And I mean, I'm sitting at a desk I have 5 monitors and about 8 computers, wires all over the place. So I wonder if they told me I'd have to find a different environment. I guess I'd basically either have to buy a laptop or I would have to clean my desk up and clean my workspace up, which maybe wouldn't be that big a deal. I guess I'm just thinking, if it turns out that this test does become easier, what if the GRE sees an average increase in scores over the course of the next few months as they're rolling this out? What do you think will happen?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think ultimately then GRE would have the responsibility to pass that information on to admissions officials. And admissions officials at the end of the day would be the ones who would have to determine how reliable this test is. Really, with the GRE, there's been a lot of concern here over the past couple of years, with various studies coming out saying that the GRE is not indicative of graduate school success, which has caused more programs to shift from putting a lot of weight on the GRE to putting very little weight or even no weight on the GRE. Some programs have even decided not to accept GRE scores at all as part of the application. And I made another podcast maybe about a year ago or so talking about why I think that's a mistake on the end of admissions officials. But regardless, that's a trend that is happening in graduate level admissions. And so it's very possible that something like this could lead more schools to say, well, we don't really need the GRE anymore. We have other elements of the application that we're going to rely on in order to make our admissions decisions. So it could be bad news for the GRE, certainly.
Yeah, I guess this is maybe another rabbit hole to dive down, but I guess in listening to your podcast from a year ago, it seems like more data is the general thought that more data points are better. If you sort of drop off the GRE, then you're just left with less data points to evaluate the candidate on. And if at least if you have it, you have that ability to use it.
Yeah, certainly. That's one argument for the GRE and using it in the admissions process. Another argument is that it's one of the few objective data points. Really,
standardized.
The looking at all the other elements of an application, right? Your letters of recommendation are very subjective. The opportunities that you have for research are also can be very limited depending on what institution you come from. And then looking at your academic record, that's a little more objective, but grades differ from university to university. As we well know, certain elite institutions tend to inflate grades in some way, shape, or form, not mentioning any names. So there, even that has an element of subjectivity to it. And so the GRE is really the one objective standard that we can evaluate candidates by. And so eliminating that entirely makes the admissions process even more subjective, which can be to the detriment of many students out there.
I guess kind of going back to the testing conditions. So maybe the test does reproduce the take-it-home test is reproducing what was happening at the testing centers. I guess certainly something that seems like will increase is variance among the tests, right? How are they going to ensure neutral testing conditions? What if you have fluctuations in your internet bandwidth and you get dropped from the call? I wonder how do you anticipate that's going to affect it, and what could ETS do to mitigate that?
Yeah. I think one of the things that was fascinating me as I read through the various conditions that ETS is requiring of a student environment is that they even have requirements even about the kind of chair that you're sitting in. So you can't be sitting on what they called an overstuffed chair. You have to be sitting on a chair that they deem acceptable. So it seems like which seems a little ridiculous. Like if I want to take the GRE in my bed, I should be allowed to take the GRE in my bed. I probably won't do as well, but I should be allowed to. So it seems to be that the company that they're partnering with, ProctorU, has some very specific rules to try to make sure that the testing environment is as neutral as it can be. Now, granted, it won't be as neutral as uniform testing centers like there were, and there will be once again. But for now, it seems that they're going to go through as many measures as they can to ensure that at least the physical space is as neutral as it can be. Now you bring up a great point about technical difficulties, because they can't guarantee that your internet is you have a certain amount of bandwidth, that your download and upload speeds are at a certain rate. That can cause problems, but it seems to be that ProctorU has a whole protocol for troubleshooting that. When you download their software, they run some diagnostics on your internet connection to make sure that at least your upload and download speeds at that particular time are sufficient for taking the test. But if they do have basically their current protocol is that if you have some technical difficulties while you're taking the test, first of all, the proctor is going to know because your connection is going to be cut out. And then they'll most likely say that those results are invalid. You have to try again, would be my guess.
So I guess something I didn't think of until just now, is the cost of the GRE still the same?
Oh, that's a great question. I didn't see any information that they were lowering it. They are lowering the cost for the GMAT because they don't have nearly as much overhead. They didn't announce exactly how much they're going to be lowering it, but I wouldn't be surprised if GRE follows suit there.
Yeah, because the testing centers represented a massive amount of overhead for administering the test, and I would assume that moving to this take-it-home style would reduce those overhead costs, and you would hope that they would pass that on to the students. So
Yeah, that would certainly be nice. That would certainly be nice. Yeah, I'm not sure fully if they have lowered the cost. They don't have it advertised on their website and FAQs anyway.
well, I guess we've sort of touched on this, and you mentioned it briefly, but how do you think this testing structure is going to affect graduate school admissions?
Um, yeah. Oh, sorry. I just confirmed that the test fee is the same. GRE hasn't cut the cost yet, because at the end of the day, they're still trying to make money.
Sure.
But yeah, I think time will tell. Ultimately, the ETS is really trying to make sure that this result is as close to the result as you would get in a normal testing environment. So if ETS can achieve that goal, where the distribution of students who take the test here over the next several weeks is the same distribution that they've gotten historically, then likely it won't have that much of an impact. The GRE will still be a valued piece of the application process for students who are applying to graduate school. I think the big question comes in, and really the big unknown here is, well, what if it doesn't work? Again, ProctorU, the company that they're working with, does have a track record of success with online proctoring. They've done significant research into the online proctoring environment and have made the value proposition that to ETS that this is going to be as close to the historical results as possible. So if that doesn't work, though, then there could be some significant issues for students. I mean, it's possible. It's possible that some graduate schools decide not to accept GRE scores for this particular cycle. It's possible that some schools maybe even realize, oh, well, maybe we thought that we needed the GRE, but maybe we don't. And so in the case that this does go significantly wrong in some way, then there could be a significant shift in the GRE market, for sure.
Well, with that in mind, what is your recommendation to students who are looking to apply to graduate school or business school soon?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think it really depends on sort of what your circumstances are, because there are some students who are still looking to submit applications for upcoming application deadlines. Some graduate programs have either extended their deadlines in light of the COVID-19 pandemic. Some schools just originally have application deadlines well into the spring and even early summer. So I would say if you're in that position, then this is good news for you, because that means that you're not going to that you have more flexibility, right? You'll be able to take the test still on the time frame that you were expecting to, which is really good news, because a lot of test takers out there were concerned that, oh, I was planning to take the test in mid-April because I thought that I would have enough time then to take it again before I submit my application in mid to late May, and that over the past couple of weeks that was cast significantly into doubt, to say the least. So for those test takers, this is really good news and gives you an opportunity to still go about your prep well, and to lay out a timeline that works best for you. Now, for those of you who are thinking about applying to schools in the fall, in sort of the more traditional business school application cycle or other graduate level programs, this this does have somewhat of an impact on you if you were planning to take the test here in the spring and early summer. But otherwise, if you're planning to take the test late summer, early fall, it's likely that this won't have too much of an impact on you, unless we realize that there's some significant score discrepancy for students who are taking the test at home versus students who are taking the test in the official testing center. So at the end of the day, I would highly recommend that students take advantage of some of the great resources out there. We at Clayborne offer a free diagnostic and consultation, and I would love to sit down with students who are confused about the uncertainty of this, who aren't quite sure about how this impacts them. I would love to sit down with them and see what their particular situation is and help them to develop a plan for success on the GRE.
He's not just saying that as a sales pitch. He really does get most of his enjoyment out of that. He is the massive nerd, which is right. It's great to have him at Clayborne.
Guilty as charged.
Awesome. Well, James, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate it. And we look forward to hearing more about the evolution of the GRE and GMAT in future videos.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, Lee. Thanks.
Thanks so much. Bye.